I'm in Chicago and we just got finished setting up for our interviews that we're doing tomorrow. It's like almost 2 in the morning, so I am tired, but I thought I'd give you a quick overview of our interview setup so you can kind of see the lighting, the cameras, and what we got going on. I made a few videos like this, probably pretty similar because kind of standard interview type stuff, but there are a few special things that we should go over for this particular setup. So first and foremost, we have our key light. When you're doing interviews, you absolutely need to use lighting of some kind. Natural light is good in certain situations, but for something like this where we've got windows and daylight that we're fighting with and we want the subject to look their absolute best, you want to make sure you have a nice big soft light, something like this. Actually behind you, I'll show you. We've got 2 of these LED lights. So these are newer lights. I've talked about some of the fluorescent ones that I've used in the past that I really like. These ones are LEDs, and so the bulbs are a little bit more durable, but these are about probably like close to twice as expensive as the other lights. These are really nice though, color's good. We still use the minus green or magenta gel, however you want to talk about it. But these are cool because you can actually dial in the color temperature on them. You can dial in the power. So it's actually really neat, and these are really handy to have. So I really like these lights, but the main component of the lighting is putting it through a big diffusion panel, something like this to soften it, make it one big light rather than 2 smaller lights where you see the bulbs and whatnot. Something like this works really well to give you that nice soft light. Obviously we've got our boom mic here overhead. If you know anything about me, you know how I like to film. I like to use the boom mic. I don't like any lav, rustling. If you have someone with a lav mic, it tends to make a little bit of noise. Wireless are convenient, but for something like this where they're just seated and they're not moving around, the overhead boom mic sounds a lot better, I think anyway. Over here we've got our edge light. This is one of those fluorescent fixtures. We actually got a smaller air light, but we didn't bring it with us on this trip, so we're just flying this little 2-bank, putting a little diffusion over top of it to kind of soften it. But that's a pretty standard kind of edge light or hair light. Now for the setup itself, we've got these windows. Obviously we did a little guesswork because it's nighttime right now, so tomorrow we're filming during the day. Lighting outside will be a little bit different, so we'll probably have to tweak that a little bit, but we can at least get stuff ready, like set dressing. So we moved the couch, we added this little table. Yes, that's the Book of Mormon and the Bible. Those came with the room, but you won't be able to see that in that final video, so not an issue. Added a little plant for a touch of color, and over here we've got a fill bounce. So all the light that's coming from over here, bounce, fill back in. Any light coming from the windows, bounce, fill back in, so our subject is nice and evenly lit. A little bit stronger, so from a visual perspective, we've got the window side with the strong light coming, motivated by the window, but we want to fill in with the bounce. We've got some gear just kind of hanging around over here, and for the fun stuff, we've got, for our kind of wider angle, we've got the Kessler second shooter with the GH4. And that's doing a nice little slow parallax pan kind of thing. I've talked about the second shooter in a few other videos. Really handy tool, especially for interviews, because it just sits there and loops back and forth. Great for adding that little bit of extra motion to a shot that otherwise would be more, not boring, but more boring, right? So it's nice to have that extra touch of motion, make it a little bit more interesting. We've got another GH4 over here for our kind of A-cam. A little bit closer up, I can pop this on so you can see what it looks like, more or less. Very basic, very standard interview setup. So we've got our A-camera. I like the A-camera to be kind of the closer. So tomorrow we're gonna have interviewee talking to interviewer. Just over interviewer's shoulder, we have our A-camera that's a little bit closer. And then the more profile shot, we've got the little bit wider angle. Currently this is set to 18, no speed booster, so with the 2.3x crop on the GH4, that's like a 36 or a little bit longer if you're used to full frame. Over here we've got the Metabone speed booster with the 70 to 200. Initially we had put an 85 on here, but just with the distance of this room, the 85 was a little bit too tight. And then we swapped to a 50 millimeter lens, a little bit too wide, so we threw the 70 to 200 on there as a nice compromise in between, split the difference, and it actually looks quite nice. We're also running everything through these Blackmagic Video Assist 4Ks. So these work really, really well for recording externally off the GH4. We're gonna be shooting Vlog L, so it's gonna be 10-bit 422 ProRes files through the Video Assist. We're doing that just because of the windows. Again, you know, dynamic range is key when you're shooting anything like this, where you've got the outside and inside that you're trying to compensate for. So as much dynamic range as possible, that's where we're shooting Vlog L on the GH4 with the Video Assist 4K. So we've got one here, and we've got another one down here for this Kessler second shooter shot. But we've got a third camera. We've got the Ursa Mini 4.6K. This is a rental from Lens Rentals, because I've heard that people have not had the greatest success with these. Some issues with color and recording, and even on Lens Rentals' site, they say that it's not recommended for professional use. So that creates a dilemma. I want dynamic range, especially for something like this. We've got these windows, we've got this scene inside. This thing supposedly has 15 stops of dynamic range. Haven't tested it myself, cannot confirm that, but I'll trust them, because in the shots that I have played around with, I'll believe that it is around 15 stops. If the GH4 with Vlog L is 12 stops, I'll trust that this is 15. But seeing as people have had issues with this camera, Lens Rental says not recommended for professional use, I want to at least test it out and try it. So basically what we have is 3 cameras. 2 of them are our trusty GH4s that have never let me down. 2 GH4s, and we've got the Ursa Mini as a backup safety / could be the master shot if everything goes well. I haven't had any issues so far. Color looks good to me. I've recorded a few clips, tested them. Everything looks good, but just in case, fingers crossed, we want to make sure that we have what we came to get, because we're doing a couple interviews here, and it's really important that we get the clips recorded, that there's no problems whatsoever. Now, I do have a few issues with the Ursa Mini from a usability, handling standpoint, but I'll probably make a separate video talking about the Ursa Mini and what I like about it and what I don't like about it. For right now, I think it's going to work well for what we're doing. It's just there's a few workarounds that are a little frustrating once you get down into how the camera actually works. But that's the setup. Pretty simple, pretty basic, but it's going to look really good. At least it should. Based on our test tonight with the lighting that we have outside, it looks really nice. We'll see how that looks tomorrow once we get full sunlight outside. Who knows what the weather is going to be like. We check the forecast, but you can never really be too sure. Things change all the time. So we got to be flexible, but it's nice that we have this setup already in place, even though it is around 2 in the morning. It's nice that we got it in place, so if tomorrow we do need to make any changes, we have time to accommodate for that. It's not like we're setting it up tomorrow starting from scratch. We've got a good idea of what we're going to be doing, and then if we do need to fix or change anything tomorrow, we have time to do it. So that's the setup. If you have any questions, the stuff I didn't cover, feel free to ask me in the comments below. Happy to answer any questions you might have.